Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 5th of July. So non-farm payrolls today, and that's pretty much that's all that we're looking for in terms of data. 1:30 we're looking for the Canadian and US employment reports. That will be the biggest movers, for today, unless Trump tweets, whichever. Where we are though with the euro at the moment, well, 4 days of nothing, about 40 pip is the biggest range of any of these days, I think. It's finding support on its weekly S3 at the moment, around that sort of area. Where to? Well, if it could break down that area, we could be seeing a test this trend line. It looks pretty close alongside that daily 50 there as a target, so I'm sure it would be a bit of an overspill there towards that daily 50. A break of that would suggest further downside. Looking at it from a 4-hourly basis, it doesn't really give us much more of a picture really here. It just confirms that movement. There's the pivot there, the S3 may find support, and it's more if it starts breaking it, well and good, it might start moving a bit earlier, but I'd be suspicious of any early morning moves here on this, particularly with the news out later. There's little to be driven here. So that's the euro. The pound is no real great difference in terms of its movement over the last couple of days. In fact, yesterday it barely made a candle. In fact, it was a little tiny doji candle, open and close at the same price. You just see this price action consolidating and looking ripe for maybe a sell-off. Technically, it's in a downward trend. Nice. Looks like it may break its trend line here, but it's sat in this range for quite some time. It may just look how tight the pivots are. Just show, well, you just look at the tight of the price range. You don't need to look at anything else. I do have pivots on here for a good reason, but on days like this, there's no good reason. Maybe we'll see a breakdown. I'm wary of, as I say, early morning moves, but if it does break, pull back a little bit and then start selling again, I would like to be on the south side of both these markets. Dollar yen is, well, it's moved this morning more than anything else. Look at yesterday's movement. It's just untradeable at the moment, really. Again, we didn't take a single trade yesterday in our market, in our room. It's just not worth it. The risk rewards are just not. It's just not worth it. That's the dollar yen. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar got a bit more movement in it. The Aussie marginally has just come out to the dailies there, and it's from a daily perspective, it could just be curving around here, putting a top in. You look at the RSI, bit of divergence sitting in there on this more aggressive indicator I'm using, breaking down lower high, just about confirmed. Very iffy price action. Someone had me looking at this in the Swissy yesterday, and exactly the same sort of price action going on here. Although the Aussie Swiss is a bit weaker even. Not a lot to be said on that at the moment. It could just continue rolling back down to its S1. Again, non-farms will affect it later regardless of what happens this morning. Canadian dollar, pretty much, well, it did continue the sell-off. I was looking at, but never really managed to get into it personally. We missed this. It already sold off onto the. By the time I noticed it had been just hovering for ages and ages, and went around about the 1 o'clock time there. So it did break the trend line. The simple movement. It went down, hit the S1. So again, target sort of ticked on that basis. And this is the problem with a slow market. You start missing things, and because you're not looking at them. Stop looking at it. Again, may have a similar thing in store today, looking for maybe even another push down towards that S1. But remember, with the Canadian dollar and the US dollar, we got data out at 1:30, and you got like a double whammy sometimes with the Canadian dollar. It can get a boost if the US jobs are not particularly good, and if it's got good jobs itself, it can get a double move in one way, or it can be just a completely confusion otherwise. So there we go. Anyway, at 1:30, jobs on that. It does look good for the downside still, but It could be, yesterday was a prime example how slow it is through the morning. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it was not moving. 11, 12, it just started pitching there a little bit. I should have set an alert, to be fair. And then 1 o'clock off it started rolling. But there we go. That's the one that got away yesterday. But it's the way these markets are. S&Ps were no real movement yesterday of significance. So I said to someone, I'm not going to be trading them today, and good job. Look, I mean, again, and a bit like the cable there, a little doji, and that's it. Will we get some action today? Well, I'm sure we will, but it may be a bit of patience needed, and it's very, very slow at the moment. Even you're coming down to the 60-minute time frame, and it's probably best to wait for the news, then the cash markets to open. So a lot of patience. I still think there's upside on these markets. I was just an interesting fact I was reading on the US employment numbers is in terms of it's almost got to be careful how people read them, because of the data itself is a little bit misleading, because there are jobs apparently. The analysis is there, but there aren't the right people to fit the jobs. So they've got to that point where the unemployment's very low, and you really only got jobs for the more skilled, and there aren't the skilled people necessary to take the job. So that's why the unemployment figures or employment figures may be not as good potentially as expected, but we'll see what happens today. Anyway, on that note, I'll leave you with that thought, and wish you a great day, great weekend. I'll speak to you on Monday. Bye for now.